Hey everyone, Miss GoElectric here, and I am at the Fully Charged live show in San Diego right now. It is buzzing here, isn't it? We started off with a panel today with Ken from the EV Revolution show. We're going to talk a little bit more to him because he specializes specifically in the Canadian market. That's where he lives, but he knows a lot about EVs and does a lot of advocacy. So I want to start off with this first question. What would you say is the biggest hurdle right now for people for EV adoption in Canada?
I used to think it wasn't price, but I think I'm back on that bandwagon because I still come up with a lot of people saying, gee, that upfront purchase price is still challenging. That and probably the perception of a lack of EV charging infrastructure. You commented on our panel, I think about that people don't see the signs. They see Shell and Exxon and all these other things, and Petro-Canada and Esso that we have, but they don't see these chargers that are out in the corners of parking lots or other spaces, but they're there. And you get an app and all of a sudden these things pop. You can see them. So I think being able to help ease people into the fact that, well, there really are more chargers than you can think, aligning that to what their driving patterns are, takes that anxiety away in a lot of cases. But then we're back to the upfront purchase price, and because we don't have in Ontario an incentive, $5,000 is great, but as you know, most EUVs are coming out as SUVs, mid-size, full-size, larger size CUVs, and their starting points are much more than a mass market, era adoption price should be, is. So we're still having that challenge. I think it's a little easier in Canada to talk about lower total cost of ownerships and the return on that lower cost of ownership, to knock down the price that you'll have to pay over time. I think we can get it a little bit faster, maybe than some people in the US. It's a little harder pill to swallow, but I think we're fairly much in line with the sentiment that purchase price is still kind of the number one thing. We have more choice. We have, I keep an updated spreadsheet on every single all-electric vehicle that's for sale in Canada or orderable or will be orderable. And it started at about 20 line items and now there's almost 100. So that doesn't mean there's 100 different models, but there's 100 combination of models and trims to add up to choice, ranging from 38,000 Canadian to 250 for the top end Lucid product, right? So you can get up there. But it just shows how much we've grown on choice.
Oh,
so,
absolutely.
But we still need that pricing to come down to some degree.
I completely agree. I mean, we can agree on that here in the States as well. And, programs are getting put in place to try to help with that. But, it takes time. And
it does.
It will get there. And the next thing I want to talk about, because specifically this applies to what we're talking about now, is, we have the Inflation Reduction Act that just passed. And there are quite a few requirements that pretty much, you have to have assembly in North America, you have to have...
You should offer a course on it because you need a degree to figure it out. Yes.
It is, it's complicated, and I'm sure you guys have seen. It's a mess, but essentially, we're already seeing some deals be struck in, continue relationships in the Canadian marketplace with manufacturers about helping with assembly or battery, because the minerals and materials that make up the battery components have to be a certain percentage in that as well. So can you talk a little bit about that, what you're seeing in the marketplace, and where do you think the trajectory is headed for that?
Great question. A lot of your viewers may not know that we're very much joined at the hip economically. Our two countries, we rely very heavily on the cross-border trade aspect and the businesses, the B2B stuff that we do. And the auto sector is a huge part of that. We have forestry and other stuff, but auto sector is huge for us and manufacturing. So the IRA and the components of it are very much a concern because, now we have to think, how are we going to be able to capitalize on the American market space, which is, huge compared to the Canadian market. In a good year, our light-duty vehicle sales are 2 million. That's a great year if it's 2 million. That's California or something, right? Or less. So we got a long way to go. So it's important for us to be able to continue doing business in the US. So one thing that Canada offers is that we are one of the few countries that has all the natural resources you need for EV production. So for cell production, we have an abundance of these minerals and natural resources. We have already established mining and companies to do that. So getting those minerals into manufacturing to that market is easy for us because we already do that, and we can continue to grow that. Tie that into our manufacturing prowess that we have. We already have, I think it's 6 OEM plants mainly in Ontario and Quebec.
Right.
That we build cars for, Honda, Toyota, things like this, right?
Lincoln. I used to work for Lincoln on contract programs, and I used
so
to
you
talk
know
about
Oakville
the
quite
Oakville,
well, right?
Yeah,
There you
plant
go.
all the time.
It's a great place, so you know it. So we have that talent pool. We have already facilities. We have room for growing those facilities. So that makes it easy for EV production as well. And then we have the access to the market, right? We are part of the USMCA, if I got that correct, along with Mexico. So we have those agreements in place. We're part of TPP, so we can extend both of our mutual economies to the Asian market spaces, which are big. So we can collaboratively impact both economies very positively. So as such, it's very much in our best interest to come to the United States and say, look, partner with Canada, let's make these investments. Our federal government is wooing anybody that will listen. So we had 2 big agreements a couple of weeks ago, MOUs, memorandums of understandings with Mercedes-Benz and VW. I went to the VW press briefing actually, and it was cool
awesome.
to listen to that. So they're loose legal documents, but they typically move forward into binding something that becomes a reality. And that reality could be EV production or battery production plants because of that. Stellantis already announced in Windsor they're going to build a battery plant, right, for
that's
theirs.
a hop, skip, and a jump
So
for me.
we have these elements in place to do that. So the long story short is we understand the IRA and what needs to be done. We're part of North America. So if the US OEMs are coming to Canada and getting our products, they will all comply to those
to meet those requirements.
So that your viewers and people that want to buy EVs can get not only the $3,750 for being an EV within the price range, but that other $3,750 tax credit for the rest of the stuff as you described. So it's very important for us, but we are taking some good steps to get there.
That's exciting. I mean, it's exciting to already see that it's moving forward, and there are automakers that are securing, or at least, like you said, these loose contracts to move towards.
Some talk's better than no talk.
I know. I'm like, more of this, please. Yes.
Glass is always half full to me. So
it really is. So that out of the way, let's talk a little bit more about like general EV ownership. You've been driving an EV for a really long time. So what would you say the reason why, or like give your pitch as to why people should buy an EV now? I mean, people that follow us probably know this is like what we thrive off of and what we completely just constantly talk about to people to try to get them to adopt EVs. But in your perspective,
if your glowing smile doesn't say it all, then I don't know what will. I mean, we are smiling because we not only believe in the EV cause, but we are genuinely happy with the product. I mean, I've owned lots of vehicles in my life, since I was 16 and got my first 74 Chevy Vega, and it was either, hey, I can get rid of the bike now with the bus pass, I can start driving. So I've been a car guy for many years, I get it, but I tell you, the EVs have been the best products I've ever owned. It's just been a really fun experience, but it's been very practical. The lower operating costs, the ease of use, you don't have to worry about those maintenance issues that came up in our panel as well, the oil changes and things like this. We have 2 cars in our family. Our second is a Nissan product, a little Versa. And okay, I don't have to do a ton of maintenance, but I have to check the oil, I have to do the changes, check the brakes, these normal things that I don't worry about in my EV. So the experience has been extremely positive. And when I went and got my first EV and got into the whole YouTube stuff, many may know I started with Trevor Page at the Model 3 Owners Club and helped build that for a couple of years, and then formed the EV Rev Show. But I got into it because my motivation was, what can I do as a consumer that can directly impact our greenhouse gas emissions, right? I can't control how cement is made or deforestation or agriculture or yes, I can be vegan, but that's so much. There's things that are out of my realm,
Yeah.
but I can definitely control what I drive and how that item that I use to drive emits emissions to the atmosphere. So it wasn't anything to do with ease of use or the power and the torque being instantaneously there. I was focused on that. How do I help preserve my daughter's generation when they get older, and so on. So something I could do and try to promote that. But it morphed into this, wow, I can go super fast, even in a Nissan Leaf. I mean,
Yeah.
7 seconds doesn't sound fast on 0 to 60, but it's still pretty quick.
And you got instant torque. I mean,
Yeah.
you feel it immediately.
I would leave guys smoking at a light in a lowly Nissan Leaf, and they'd be going, what the heck was that? So, without trying. So, yeah, they catch you later, but still. So you get these benefits, and it wasn't even in my game plan that it just happened to happen, because I didn't really understand that side of ownership until you experience. And, plugging it in every night or every couple of days, whatever I need to do, my home is my gas station.
Yeah.
I can't do that with our Nissan. I can't do that with any gas car. I have to physically go to unless I'm going to get a big tank illegally and store gas or something, but
Right.
I have to go somewhere. So that just makes it so easy and convenient that I don't worry about a lot of rapid chargers and fast charging and things like that, because even with my travels, I know that there's enough out there, because 95% of my charging is at home. So there's so many benefits that's why we're excited about it.
Absolutely.
Because it really changes your perception of the automobile, brings it back to, just so many things you don't have to worry about in them.
Now, do you get a lot of people, because if you guys don't know this about Ken actually is a part of associations that help educate people on EVs as well. So not only does he have the EV Revolution show, but you do a lot of work behind the scenes.
Yeah, we have a Canadian equivalent to your Electric Vehicle Association of America. It's EV Society of Canada. Same thing. I run a local chapter. Guys and gals that come out, we go out and do a lot of public events. I do a lot of public speaking. I do webinars for even municipalities. I'm part of some climate action plans, exactly. So I'm out there trying to help educate, the average Joe consumer, that's my motto, on what an EV could or may not do for them. Because I'm a realist. I think we both know that some EVs may not work in some situations.
That's right.
For people, right? If you're up in Northern Ontario, where there's no infrastructure and it's really cold and you have to drive a long way, it may not work, right?
Yeah.
Today.
Plug-in hybrid.
Right? But a plug-in hybrid, exactly. So, but sorry to snafu on that, but
to take that this is my point, is like, okay, there are those things that people are thinking that they are restricted on.
Yes.
The first things I think of, because I'm from Michigan, so I face a lot of the same climate concerns, and that's like the main one that we experience when we share snow.
Yeah, we do.
So all-wheel drive and being able to drive an EV in the wintertime. Do you get a lot of questions or hesitation about that? Because it just seems like, what is your response, and what have you seen conversion-wise when you communicate with those types of people when you're advocating?
It's pretty positive from what I initially gather. Sometimes it's hard to capture that, because I may just have a spark, and I may light something that they pursue, and maybe eventually turns into somebody getting rid of a tailpipe into an EV, and I may not know that down the line. I do get some viewers or people that I meet that email me or reach out to me later and say, hey, thanks to what you're doing and all this other stuff, I got into it and we bought a Model 3 or we bought a Mach-E or whatever. I said, great, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining the revolution, right? That's what it's
That's
about.
right.
So that's all we can do with this medium that we have, is to educate and to help maybe find that spark for people to think about and consider an electric vehicle. So the public outreach does that. We talked about this earlier, getting somebody behind the wheel of one is an experience, right? It is a different experience, and it's a very pleasant experience. So that usually helps to get people to really start seriously thinking about an EV. I'm hoping that what I'm doing and what we do as EV evangelists in various different methods are making a difference. And I would say, depending on the event, probably a fairly high percentage of people are actually starting to take steps to pursue that.
I think so too, and as we're seeing here at the show, like there are a lot of people here. Like I,
Yeah.
it opened at 10, and there was a flood of people that
Absolutely.
just came in, and they were just gravitating.
They all came to
towards-
see her. That was it. Not the rest of us, but no.
Don't believe this guy. Actually, right across from us is the Aptera.
Oh, man.
And they revealed their Gamma unit. Are you guys getting the Aptera in Canada?
Yes, a lot of my friends. One of my Canadian friends supposed to be here.
He's got an order in on
he's
one?
got one of the first orders in Canada. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not ordering
How do you
one,
think
but
that
it's
will
okay.
fare?
Well, I don't know. They said that it's going to do okay in the snow, but the jury's out for me. It's something that I wouldn't get because it's not for me.
Fit your lifestyle?
But
Yeah, sure.
if you look at most of the people in line, it's middle-aged, upper income, mid to upper income that are looking at this as potentially a secondary vehicle that's so new. It's a little bit more of an early adopter status
Oh, yes.
for the
yes.
type of vehicle it is. So great. The good thing about Aptera is they're putting eyeballs into the market. So people might come to look at that, but realize, well, I really need a Mach-E or I need a Nissan Ariya or whatever, right? Because that's more practical.
Sure.
But at least, again, it's creating that spark of interest. So I'm all for niche players like this, but we really need the big guys to step up and get
Yeah,
cars
so
out.
that brings me to my next point is like, what do you think is going to be the next most impactful car for your guys' market?
Well,
For
yeah,
EVs.
for EVs, yeah, in general. Well, certainly for North American, I think we can both agree I just did an episode on the Equinox, the GM Chevrolet Equinox EV reveal, and I think it is a groundbreaking reveal, not because it's the greatest looking vehicle or all the greatest specs, but when you really start trying to bring that price point with the features that consumers need, at an affordable price, I think GM is doing it. Now, the proof will be in the production numbers and how fast they could ramp up. But for 30,000, you're getting a 250-mile EV that's capable of charging to 80% in that 30-minute or less environment. I mean, we're just guessing on some of the other Ultium things that we've seen today, but it's supporting 150 kilowatt or something
Yep.
charging. So that,
See what that curve looks
when
like, but yeah.
when you look at the curve, like don't just look at the maximum power, look at the overall curve. If that experience is 30 minutes or less, even getting closer to 20 minutes, there's really no reason. We keep setting off alarms. There's really no reason for a consumer to seriously think about an EV, even for road tripping, because 20 minutes after driving 3 or 4 hours on the highway, to stop for 20 minutes, get some blood circulating back in your legs, bio break, have a quick coffee or food, that 20 minutes goes by fast. People are so hung up in this, I just pump gas and I go. But do you really?
Yeah.
When you stop on a highway journey, do you really just pump gas and go? Like, do you want to time it next time? And I hear people, I'm waiting in line for gas for 10 minutes because they're busy. So why is 20 minutes or 25 minutes such a big deal? And I think GM's, if they're really able to package this product the way they say it is, and I fully am confident they are, I think that's a game changer, because we talked about, you asked me about, the number one barrier is still cost. This is a capable, small size SUV that's big enough for 5 people, comfortable, will come in all-wheel drive, we'll be able to handle those elements. That'll be affordable, and that'll offer all the features of EVs that we talked about, the lower cost of maintenance and everything, at a good charge rate, at a competent product, and a dealer network to support it with industry warranties and everything. So that's what I'm excited about, at least for this calendar year that I've seen so far. That's the thing I'm biggest bang for the buck. I'm hoping that Ford follows up with something. I'm hoping that Stellantis, continues. Right now, it's all about Jeeps and stuff to them, and this concept, not Aero. What's it called? The Chrysler concept vehicle.
Oh yeah, the Air.
Air. Is it the Air?
I thought it was Air.
Lucid Air? Are they
know,
copying
no.
the Air? I don't know. It's something to do with air.
Someone will tell us.
Somebody
They
will
will
tell
tell
us.
us.
So
There's
great,
too many
nice.
concepts.
Again, another mid-size crossover SUV, because that's the hot market. One thing about Canada is we're pretty well the same. We used to be 4-doors and hatchbacks. Now we're SUVs and pickup trucks. So number one vehicle in Canada, Ford F-150, just like it is here. So we need that affordability to come down. I'm excited about them in the foreseeable future. And hopefully we'll see more from the guys, the big guys that can really put out production numbers, right? The VWs that have 130 plants, 600,000 workforce, this kind of stuff. We need them to really start cranking out more. But part of that is supply chain and all that other stuff. So I get it.
I mean, I hope it clears up soon. The shortages are just such a bummer right now across the whole industry.
But that's, as you said, you want a nice BMW car? Well, you're waiting 8 months from what I hear, so it's not that much different.
Exactly. Yeah. But I agree with you. I think that if Chevy can bring out the Equinox in mass production, it is going to be a game changer, because although they have something that is near that price range in the Bolt EUV, people want all-wheel drive. People want to have a form factor that more suits their lifestyle, because maybe they have kids, or maybe, you know, they need to bring a lot of belongings with them when they travel. So, and the other thing about it is that it doesn't scream too tech heavy, although it does have some really great available head-up display, things like that are going to be really user-friendly for the drivers. I think that it is a good all-encompassing option that has a great price point that will do really well. They will probably sell every single one that they produce for the first at least few years until the competition heats up. But I'm with you. I hope Ford responds in some way to, and we've seen that they have been doing that by putting EV platforms on their biggest nameplates, F-150 Lightning and the Mustang. So.
They've gone out, and the risk factor. I mean, these are near and D nameplates to them, as you know quite well. And for them to jeopardize that by electrifying them, it's a risk, but it's been well received. And I think they get it that they need to do that. It's too bad they've gotten out of the sedan marketplace and focusing more on their sports cars and their pickups and SUVs. But maybe things will change. Who knows with Ford? But I think it definitely is a wake-up call. I've already gone on Twitter saying I think they'll get 200,000, 300,000 reservations for the Equinox when they open in no time. I truly believe it'll be that, because I believe so strongly what GM's doing in that Ultium platform with the Lyric. We've both seen the Lyric. I think you've seen it, correct? Yeah. I had a chance to spend some time with it. Lovely car. They just, they're only building the first run is a few thousand units, and then maybe another 15, 20,000. Come on, guys, pump out 100,000 of these.
That's
it's a
why
great
I say
price
that
point.
About the Equinox, is because I know that their history so far, very, very, very limited production with the Hummer EV, which I'm fine with, to be honest, because that 200 plus kilowatt hour battery pack is excessive.
It's a halo vehicle, but it gets eyes again in the market.
It does,
from a different angle.
And it's a market just like we were talking about with the Mustang and the F-150, that we need to bring people from that demographic in. And then Lyric, of course, yes, we would just love to see more of those production volumes get up to speed so that we can get more EVs proliferating throughout.
I wanted to say one quick thing. You mentioned about the Bolt, and I love the Bolt EUV. If anybody comes to me right now, what's the best EV I can get at a great price, get a Bolt EUV. It's only a little bit more than the Bolt EV, but that 6 inches of rear room, adds up for a nicer rear, just a nicer, little bit better practicality. So people are going to say, but it's the same, then the Equinox is the same price as the Bolt, why wouldn't we do that? But remember that the Achilles heel to the Bolt is their fast charging, right?
Yes.
So it's a great, you can drive it across country. There's nothing to say you can't. You just have to remember that your stops are going to be 45 minutes to an hour, hour 15, depending on certain factors, to get it back to 80-85%. Whereas in the Equinox that supports the 150, it's double, triple almost the Bolt speeds, and that makes a huge difference on that user experience. And that's what we need to get to. Tech-wise, I'm all about keeping it simple. So I don't mind technology, but don't overload, because sometimes and people into the mass market, I just want to get in and drive it.
Yeah.
Like my wife, she doesn't care about any. Look what the Tesla update. I don't care about that. Can I still drive it?
Yeah.
Does the signal still work? Okay, then that's all she cares about, right?
Yep.
So I get it. Keep it simple. Being able to, and most of those settings you turn on and they're once and forget, right?
Yeah.
Turn on the safety features. Don't worry about it. Don't get it. If you want to explore and deep dive, it's there. So by what we've seen so far on the GM, the Blazer, Lyric, Equinox, they all seem to be using the same interfaces, same kind of look and feel. So, and it's a really nice user experience. So I think they're going to do quite well.
Seems like it. I definitely agree with you on that. I just actually did a walkthrough with them very briefly at the Woodward Dream Cruise, which is essentially in the Metro Detroit area, a bunch of classic cars get together to drive up Woodward, and that street actually extends from downtown Detroit all the way up to Pontiac, so it's a long stretch. But it is a really cool event, and it's actually the largest automotive event, single day automotive event in the world. So it's a big deal. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
I should go to that
many,
next year.
Yes.
Yeah, let me know for sure.
But GM had a big display there where they showed off the Blazer EV, the Silverado EV. They had the Bolt and the Bolt EUV all there on display, which I think is just so cool because for those of you that don't know that event, it is very, 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 very gas heavy because it's a classic car event, which is so cool. But Ford had a huge setup with a bunch of EV stuff. You got on my screen, that's me right there at the Woodward Dream Cruise.
Yes, okay.
It's very cool, and anyone could drive their car up and down the street, and there are people lined across the streets to see what's going on. So, anyways, they had a cool display there, and I'm just so happy to see EVs be brought into events like that. But yeah, you got to come next year.
I definitely want to, and you jogged my memory as well. I won't harp on GM. This is not a GM show, but because I get a lot of flack. Well, Tesla's it. No, I get Tesla's great. I love it. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But a lot of people don't want Tesla. They don't want that. They need the choice. And GM is a staple, right? One of the big three. Yes, they've had issues. Hopefully they're gone. But you mentioned, they're in such a short time, their product portfolio, right? I mean, if you come to Detroit next week for the North American International Auto Show, GM's going to have their full electrification on display, starting from the Hummer pickup, the Hummer SUV, right? Technically, there's two vehicles. Mm-hmm. Then you've got your Silverado EV coming out, which is going to be fantastic. Then you've got your Lyric. Then you've got your Blazer EV, your Equinox EV, and then your two Bolt products. That's a lot of vehicles, right? Mm-hmm. It's multiple models with several trims within that. GM, regardless of what you may think, they're putting their money where their mouth is because now we're starting to see some product. It's not a matter of if now, it's just when. That's the only thing we can talk and debate about. When are we going to see 500,000 of these, of these things? Mary Bauer keeps saying they want to do 1 million EVs a year. I think it's by 2025 or 2024. I'm trying to remember what date, but that's not very far.
We're coming up.
And, I don't know how many Bolts they're selling a year, maybe 40,000 or 60,000. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean,
we'll have to see. They've got a lot of reservations in. They sold out the Hummers. They've sold out the Silverado, the Lyrics. I mean, everything they're putting out there, they're selling out at first runs. So they have several 100,000 reservations combined in their divisions. Now let's see them deliver on those.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
We'll see.
It's a big deal.
But it is a big deal.
Well, we're both going to be at the Detroit Auto Show, right?
Yes.
So we hope to see you guys there. If you're not going to be there,
for sure.
You'll probably see us at some other EV event because that's what we like to do.
Exactly. we have no lives. This is what we do. We just show up unannounced. We grab a table and we start live streaming.
That's right.
I love it.
We are going to wrap it up because we have a lot more to do here at the Fully Charged live shows. Definitely subscribe to his channel. He's got some amazing coverage. I mean, you really do a great job of advocacy and also reporting a lot of the news stories that are out. And not only just that applies to the Canadian market, you do a lot of stuff that applies here too. I mean, he went to the Lyric launch that was in
Utah.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City.
So
it's a lot of fun.
Definitely follow him at EV Revolution Show, guys. Thank you for joining us for the live stream today. And until next time, drive, fly, ride. Go electric.